Today, we're going to talk about something that can feel like the greatest romance of your life, but is actually one of the most confusing and damaging experiences you can go through. It's called love bombing. It's this illusion of perfection, and today, we're going to pull back the curtain and unmask it. And that's really the heart of it, right there. This quote from therapist Annie Wright is so crucial. We are not talking about a passionate honeymoon phase that just cooled off. No, we're talking about a deliberate, calculated tactic, a form of psychological abuse that's all about gaining control. If this sounds familiar, you know that whiplash feeling. One minute, you're being told you're a soulmate, the most amazing person they've ever met, and the next, you're being criticized and ignored, left completely lost. You're just trying to get back to that person you met at the beginning, wondering if you dreamed the whole thing up. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy and you are not alone. So, how on earth does this tactic get such a powerful grip on us? Well, it all starts by creating what feels like a once-in-a-lifetime soulmate-level connection. Let's dig into why that first phase is just so intoxicating and so incredibly effective. This right here, this quote from a survivor, just says it all, doesn't it? It's that feeling of being completely enveloped in warmth and adoration, especially if you've been through a string of bad dates or partners who are emotionally distant. This sudden intensity feels like you finally found the one. It feels like coming home. Now, let's talk about who this often works on. For so many of you who are highly competent, driven, independent women, you're used to handling everything. And if we're being honest, you might be a little bit exhausted by your own strength sometimes. So when someone comes along and offers this deep sense of being seen and cared for, it can feel like the ultimate safety, and it can completely disarm the very judgment that's made you so successful in every other area of your life. Okay, so we know how it feels. It feels amazing at first. Now it's time to actually decode the tactic itself. Let's pull back the curtain on the fairy tale and look at the clinical mechanics of what is really going on. So here it is, the textbook definition. And the keywords you really need to focus on are gain trust and establish control. This has nothing to do with love. It's about power. The love bomber is performing. They're basically collecting data on you, mirroring all your deepest desires to become your perfect partner, all so they can lock you in and later exert control. This chart is brilliant because it draws such a clear line in the sand. Healthy love has room to breathe. If you say, hey, I need a night for myself, a healthy partner says, okay, have fun. But a love bomber, they'll guilt trip you or act hurt. Healthy excitement builds. Love bombing is a whirlwind. They're pushing for commitment before you even really know who they are. One feels supportive, the other feels possessive. Now, here's where it might all start to click. What feels like a completely chaotic, unpredictable emotional roller coaster is actually a predictable 3-phase cycle. And understanding this pattern is really the first big step to getting your reality back.
Idealization, devaluation, and discard. This is the playbook. Idealization, that's the love bombing part we've been talking about. Devaluation is when the abuse really starts, and discard is that brutal, sudden ending. Let's break each one down.
So, this is phase 1, the pedestal phase. In their eyes, you can do no wrong. You are absolutely perfect. They mirror your interests, your values, your sense of humor. They convince you that you've found your other half. But the person they're pretending to be, it's just a character, a mask, custom designed just for you. And then, the shift. It's jarring. Once they feel like they have you hooked, the mask starts to slip. That constant praise turns into little digs and then outright criticism. Suddenly, everything is your fault. You find yourself walking on eggshells, constantly anxious, just desperately trying to figure out what you did wrong to make your perfect partner disappear. And finally, there's the discard. Once you're emotionally drained, or maybe you start to see what's happening and you set a boundary, they're gone. It is often sudden, cruel, and with absolutely no closure. And almost every single time, they've already got their next target lined up, ready to start the whole 6 cycle all over again. Hearing all of that, it is so easy to fall into that trap of self-blame. But it is so important that you understand why this is incredibly hard to resist on a biological level. This is not about a failure of your judgment. I need you to hear this. It is not your fault. This is the question, isn't it? The one that just haunts you. I'm a smart person. I run a business, I lead a team, I trust my gut. So how could you have been so blind?
Well, the answer has a lot less to do with your intelligence and way more to do with your neurochemistry.
This quote says it all. A neurochemical hijacking. Think about that. This wasn't a character flaw or a bad decision on your part. Your brain's own reward and bonding systems were literally being weaponized against you. Okay, so here's what's happening in your brain. All of that intense affection, it's flooding your system with dopamine, the reward chemical, and oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This chemical cocktail feels incredible, but it also suppresses your prefrontal cortex. That's the logical part of your brain that spots red flags. You are literally intoxicated. So when the devaluation starts and they pull the affection away, your dopamine crashes. You go into a real physical withdrawal, and that creates an intense craving for them. That is the trauma bond. It's a biological addiction.
Okay, so understanding the cycle and the biology is absolutely critical. But where do you go from here? The last part of this explainer is all about the path forward. It's about healing those foundations and truly reclaiming your sense of self. Now this might be the most important thing to understand in your entire healing journey. You were not chosen because you were weak or naive. You were chosen because you are strong. Your empathy, your loyalty, your competence, your huge capacity to love, those are the very qualities the manipulator wanted to exploit.
So, how do you rebuild that internal compass that they worked so hard to break? First, and this is non-negotiable, you have to go no contact. Block them everywhere. You can't heal from an addiction while you're still talking to the dealer. Second, reconnect with the people and passions that make you, you. Third, learn the difference between the feeling of a steady, genuine connection and that chaotic whirlwind. And finally, please, seek support from a trauma-informed professional who gets the neurobiology of what you've survived. Going through something like this is absolutely devastating, but it is not the end of your story. The recovery process is really about rebuilding the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. It's about coming out the other side more tuned into your own intuition than ever before. This wasn't just an ending. This can be the beginning of a profound reconnection to your own strength. So the real question is, now that the illusion is gone, who will you become?